In 1872, at the age of 14, my great-great-grandfather left his parents and immigrated from Germany. He arrived in New York and taught himself to read and write English by studying the signboards on the train ride going to and from his first job. In 1879, Charles moved to join his siblings who were already living in Ingram, Illinois. A few years later, he was married and opened his first blacksmith shop. At the turn of the century, for reasons still unknown to this day, Charles moved his family to Poseyville, Indiana. They made the 70-mile journey by horse and wagon, bringing all their worldly possessions with them. In 1902, Charles purchased one of 4 local blacksmith shops. It was a small dirt floor building. Here, he would stay busy shaping iron, shoeing horses, and repairing wagons for the local farmers. In 1924, my great-grandfather, Carl, took over the family business. Nearly 2 decades later, in 1941, he purchased the company's first welding machine. This state-of-the-art piece of equipment was the first of its kind in the area. In 1957, my grandfather, Carl Jr., joined the family business. Together, he and his father built their new shop. This small block building is still an integral part of our operation today.
I'm Charles Nix Jr. I started work here in the shop in 1957, and I worked for 52 years. I retired when I was 75. My dad started working in the shop in 1929. We did this concrete floor, we did all the block work, and it has a metal roof on the metal suspension. I welded all that decking on those steel beams up there. That was the Memorial Day job. Dad said, well, we're going to move. He said, how about if I just start working down there and you see how it goes and then you come in. I said, no, that's not why you built this building. You built it for me to come in. So that's when I started work. I was 23 when I came to work in here. So I had 52 years of good times. And I remember the first big job we did was an insurance job. This guy wrecked his 10-wheeler truck. It was an old wooden bed, wooden sideboard truck. And he wrecked that thing and we rebuilt the sideboards. It was like $640. We thought we set the world on fire, you know. The other project, some of my ability is shown off is the gate and confinement around the St. Francis Cemetery. Caroline and I did that, and we painted it, and it has St. Francis Xavier Cemetery as was cut out with that track torch. It was a tracer torch, and we wrote that out on a piece of paper, a big piece of cardboard, and it followed that lettering and cut that out, and it's on that gate out there, and that's probably, if I consider a legacy, that may be as good as I get, you know.
During that time, and through the 1970s, the blacksmithing that had brought our company nearly a full century was becoming a dying art. Carl Jr. continued to evolve the shop with the changing world. And in 1975, my father, Charles William, joined the family business.
My name is Bill Nix, and I've been a former owner of Carl Nix Welding. I started being an owner in about 1975 with my dad, and I was the 4th generation owner.
Well, Bill went to Vincennes for a couple of years and got a machine technology degree. And he went to work at B&W at Mount Vernon running a lathe. And one day he came up here and he said, I'm gonna go to work for you. I said, no, you're not gonna work for me, you're gonna work with me. I said, when are you gonna do that? He said, well, I've already given my 2 weeks notice and it'll be up this weekend. So I'm coming back to work. I said, but you're not working for me, you're working with me. He came in and started working, and he was running the lathe. Dad and I were just busting our butts, and it was in the summertime, and he was sitting over there, sitting on a chair reading a hunting magazine, and this lathe was running. And I went over and kicked that chair, and of course he looked up like that and said, what do you want? I said, get your butt off that chair. I said, we don't sit down and work here. I said, you stand up and run that thing, or you don't run that thing at all. He never sat down anymore.
Still primarily focused on farm repair, the company was known many miles for its reputation of honest, responsive service and quality work.
Grandpa had a passion for using his hands. It was a craft that he turned into a job, and he passed that along to all of us, Sonny and Bill and myself. My name is Caroline Eichhoff. I worked at Nix Welding from August of 1987 till April of 2013, and I'm Sonny's daughter. When I worked here, it was not for the money, it was because of the customers. If the customer needed something fixed, it wasn't about the money, it was about taking care of the customer, having great customer service, and that's what we provided.
I never did think when a guy brought a job, boy, I'm gonna make this much money on this job. I never thought that. I always thought, he's in trouble, I gotta get him out of here, gotta get him fixed, you know. The money, I never did think of how much money you're gonna make on the job. Never did think that. Never did think that.
I've always been honest, you know. I don't have a thing to hide. I don't feel bad about any decisions that I've ever made or ever done. You have to be honest and treat everybody the same.
There's not anybody that I feel like I can't face to face because I feel comfortable with everybody, and I always did, and I always kept a friendly relationship with everybody.
But as time goes on, so must our evolution. By the turn of the company's second century, a spark of youth proved powerful yet again. My name is Matthew Nix. I'm fifth generation owner here at Nix Companies.
My dad was quite a craftsman. I wasn't near as good as he was, and Matthew has a whole different demeanor about him as far as expanding and getting all these people, and this is the tremendous job he's done to make the company grow. It's just more than I can fathom almost, you know.
You want to do a lot of different things, and it's like, I don't know about all this, you know. I'm kind of old-fashioned. I kind of give him a little bit of running room, and then I'd try to hold him back, and then he'd want some more running room, and then finally I just said, the hell with it.
He thought I was crazy, maybe still does, but I like to joke with him and say, you can be crazy and be right.
I was really excited to join the company with Matthew. His passion for the business and what it could be. You know, I always knew that he had these big dreams, and I was just so excited to come on board and to help him and the rest of our family grow the business to what it is today. My name is Lindsay Nix, and I started with Nix in 2012. I came on to try and help with marketing and sales efforts. My role quickly changed. I quickly transitioned into, at that time, what we called the bookkeeping of the business. I took on the roles of all of the invoicing, paying the bills, doing the payroll. Did that for about 5 years and looked up one day and we were much larger than what we were whenever I started that role, and we were growing and start getting ready to do our second acquisition. And Matthew and I kind of looked at each other and we thought, we need some help. So that's whenever we hired our now CFO, Jared Bale, who came in and replaced me in that finance role. And I got to go back to doing what more of my passion is and what I originally came to help the business with, which was the sales and marketing position.
So one of my first big projects when I started out, this was even before Adam started working here at the business full-time, we fabricated this custom metal yacht for a gentleman, and this project really started the growth of the business. We hired the first employee to help me build this boat, and Dad and Grandpa continued to work on the ag equipment and focus on the core business, which allowed me to do this. My grandpa likes to say that I was just young and dumb enough to take this on, and I think the older I get, the more I know he's right. We got a lot of publicity from this project, and it really gave me a sense of confidence that, you know, if we could do this project, we could do anything. Well, Adam wasn't always involved in the business as much as I was, and he went off to college, got a 4-year degree, and then he decided to come back to the business. I'm just so excited that Adam's here with me. I mean, we wouldn't be doing what we're doing without the team that we have, and I think we make an incredible team, and you know, it's a blessing to have him here.
Adam's a pretty smart boy, and he picks up on a lot of stuff real quick, you know, and he handles people very well, a lot better than me.
I'm Adam Nix. I'm a fifth generation owner. My day-to-day role is the operations manager of the repair and maintenance division. I'd been sitting behind a desk for quite some time, going to school. Realized that wasn't necessarily for me. I wanted to get back into the shop. I realized that how much I loved it, how passionate I was about it, and that ultimately drugged me back. That and Matthew he was anxious, chomping at the bit. He was ready to grow the business.
If the private yacht build was what gave us the confidence and the publicity to get our momentum going, the modular steel building contract that we got was really the project that really launched the growth of the company. It's the first major commercial industrial project that we ever did. This one project doubled our business overnight, but what I tell our team members a lot of times is people forget all the years that we were just fighting and scraping, wanting to grow the business. And you've got to plant those seeds, you've got to do the right thing, so when an opportunity like this comes along that you're ready to capitalize on it. Adam was working in the business by this time, and we really didn't even know how we were going to pull it off, but we ended up working a double shift. We didn't have enough equipment, we didn't have enough people, so we started hiring team members to help us with this project. He would work 2 shifts on Monday and Wednesday, and I would work 2 shifts on Tuesday and Thursday. And from January until about May, we worked on this project, and we were able to deliver it ahead of schedule and under budget. And that really launched the growth of the business. So after this project, things really started to take off. When we saw this project coming to an end, we took a big leap of faith and we hired our first salesperson in the business, who actually happened to be the first support staff we ever hired. Adam Schmidt's now our Director of Business Development and a partner. And from that point on, things really started to heat up. We launched our coatings division, hired our first manager there, Brian Merkley, who's also now a partner in the business. Recently after that, we acquired Tri-County Equipment in Poseyville. Brandon Wright came on board to run that business. Shortly thereafter, we acquired Superior Fabrication in Rockport, which is our structural division. And then we acquired Heritage, our heavy machine shop. Yeah, things have changed a lot in a short amount of time here. Some of my favorite memories about my grandfather working with him is the way he would interact with the customers. He always had a smile on his face, and still always has a smile on his face to this day. I think maybe that's why he got the nickname Sonny.
Sonny is my dad. I am very proud that he's my dad. He has taught me so much, working side by side for 25 plus years. He taught me how to be a hard worker, and he would help anybody in any way if he could, and does.
Yeah, I never hated to go to work. There were jobs I didn't like to do, but we did them, but I never hated to go to work. I was glad sometimes when the weekends were over so I could go back to work, but I always loved my job.
First time I came to work here in this building, I was about 8 or 9 years old. I left the daycare for the day, and my dad had a project where he needed somebody with little hands to help hold the nuts on the back side of a bolt. He was putting in a bunch of these, and I came and helped him, and then I just started working in the summer ever since. So ever since I was 8 or 9 years old, I was working in the shop in the summertime.
When Adam was a little bitty guy, one Saturday morning, I remember this very well, we just got our wire machine and said, "You want to try that?" "Yeah." So we got a bunch of scrap, and he stacked all this little old scrap pieces up, welded them all together, and he got done, and he said, "What do you think of that, Pap?"
Every time you move forward and you move into new great things, you're leaving something behind that you miss. I mean, that's just the reality of life. So I miss a lot of those things. I miss the simpler times. Grandma would cook lunch for us every day. We would walk up the hill to Grandma and Grandpa's house, take an hour lunch break, and then walk back to work.
And there may be as many as 7, 10, 12 people around the table for lunch.
Talk about these tools.
Yeah, Grandpa made those. You probably hardly ever even seen them, did you? You've seen photos, you've never seen actual.
They're black and white.
The photos become kind of iconic.
You remember when he done that for Uncle Lynn? Cause he done Uncle Leonard, you know, from Jasper, made that all that woodworking.
Okay.
And, you know, he needed a little hammer, you know, to drive all these little tack nails.
I don't remember.
You know, and he was gonna make him one, and he said he's gonna make it in the forge. Well, he got some metal, and he got to welding this piece on there and welding that piece on there, and was gonna, you know, work it all out. And I said, well, I thought you was gonna make that in the forge. So he grabbed it and he just threw it in a damn junk bucket, and he got him a piece of steel, and he put it in that forge, and he started heating working it, hammering it, and stretching it, knock a hole in it with a punch, you know, and then you get a square punch, and
You know, I don't remember that at all.
make that hole in there, you know, and I do. And then he messed with it for a while, you know.
Grandpa always told jokes. He was a very caring man. I remember coming down here and him working the forge back in this corner. When we came down to the shop when we were kids, he always stopped what he was doing and talked to us. He always made us feel very important.
I miss doing the work. Believe it or not, I miss getting dirty and doing that because, I mean, I'm a trades person at heart, you know. I mean, I love building things.
I know one day I'm going to look back, and I continue to look back and say those were the good old days. I try to make sure that I'm living in the day-to-day and you know, making sure that I'm present and that I'm enjoying these times as they go by, because whenever you blink, you look back, 5 years has gone by, the company looked totally different 5 years ago. We consider those to be the good old days, and I think that we're going to continue to always look back and say those were the good old days.
I've got a lot of great memories working right here in this building with Dad and Grandpa, and you know, one of my favorite memories is something we would do every day at 9:30. We would take a break, we would go over to the refrigerator, get a Dr. Pepper and a Snickers, and we would take a 10-minute break, and we would all just talk about the work we were doing or talk about things from the weekend before, and just enjoy being together, and then we would just get right back to work. Walking around the shop with my two boys, Charlie and Mason, who are 5 and 3, it's an incredible experience. I mean, there's really not words to describe it. I remember being a little boy coming in here in the shop after school. I would walk down here and get a candy bar and a Coke and talk to my grandpa and my dad, and being able to take my boys around and show them these other shops, and it's an incredible feeling. And you know, I hope that someday they love what they do, whether they work here or not. I just hope they love what they do as much as I do.
To know that maybe our children will someday, whether they grow up in our business or decide to do something else, that they'll have this great foundation of what it takes to be a good community servant and to be a productive member.
People tell me, say, I see them Nix trucks running around all over the place. It's pretty cool because I go around, and a lot of times I wear a Nix hat, you know, and people ask me about that. You know, I said, I see that everywhere. I said, well, how come you got one on? I said, well, my name's Nix.
Well, I'm overwhelmed with the way they've done. Matthew hires quality people. Adam does one hell of a job with the people they have, and yeah, I'm very, very proud of them. And their grandpa and dad, my dad, would be extremely proud of them. Extremely proud of them.
When I started, we had basically no employees.
Whenever we first started growing, I mean, I had no idea it was going to turn into what it was going to turn into.
It's really crazy to think about when I started my career here, 2004 full time. We were in this building right here. Grandpa and great-grandpa literally laid the block on this building that we're in right here. They built it with their bare hands, and grew up working right in this shop alongside Dad and Grandpa and my aunt and my brother. And you know, we went on to add other shops in town. Now we have 2 shops out of town, and it's amazing to think, you know, in this short of time, how much has changed. But more importantly, how much hasn't changed. You know, we've gone from anvils and forges to computer-controlled equipment, but fabricating and repairing metal is still the core part of our business. And the values that were instilled in Ab and I, working alongside our dad and grandfather, have really influenced the vision, the mission, and the core values of our company today. And that foundation is what's going to allow us to grow and prosper well into the future.